Okay, 3.2 homework. Sketch the graph and label the X and Y intercepts. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw our graph and start with some shortcuts here. Number one, we'll put all these on the same one. We'll start with a black one first. -3, 1, 2, 3, that's your y-intercept. The slope is +1, so +2, up 2 and over 1. And then you can keep going, up 2 and over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And I would suggest you continue to graph like this. It makes it easier to draw as many points as possible here. All right, so that's number one. But you have to know the intercept. So the x-intercept is where y is 0. So 0 equals 2x minus 3. Add 3. Divide by 2. So you have 3 halves. So 3 halves, 0 is your x-intercept. Okay, and obviously 0, -3 is your y-intercept. All right, number 3, let's do in blue, goes through at 2, has a slope of -1 over +1. So we go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1, and it just keeps going like that. All right, so we can see that that is what it looks like. Now, it's pretty obvious here what your x and y intercept is. So the x-intercept is at -2, 0, or excuse me, +2, 0, and your y-intercept's at 0, 2. Okay. Now we'll do yellow for number 5. It is a parabola because of the 2. A is negative, so we know it opens down. And there is no b, or since there's no b term, then c is your vertex as well as your y-intercept. And since c isn't listed there, it's 0. So your vertex is at the origin. It's going to open down. So that's your y-intercept and your x-intercept. And if we wanted to plot a couple points, just plug in -1. -1 squared is 1 times the -2 is -2. So that tells you what it's going to look like. It is symmetrical. So you just keep going like that. All right, let's go on to number 7. So again, we need to graph these. So we'll just draw the large graph here. And again, we'll start with black. This is a parabola. All these are parabolas. And this goes through the y-axis at -1. There is no b term, so that means that by shortcut that -1 there is your vertex. A is positive, so it's going to open up. So now we got to figure out what the x-intercepts are. So the y-intercept is at -1, and now we need to find the x-intercepts. Okay, so we'll just make a list like this. How about we do that? So the y-intercept number 7 is -1. The x-intercept, when you plug 0 in, we'll put our work over here. 0 in for y, and now we just solve it like we did in chapter 1. Add 1, divide off the 2, and take the square root. And the square root of 1 over the square root of 2, you rationalize that, you should know that that is the square root of 2 over 2. And it's plus or minus. All right, so use a calculator to figure out where that's at, but your x-intercept is going to be plus or minus the square root of 2 over 2 as your answer. Okay, now let's do number 9. Again, 0 is your y-intercept. And since there's no b, that's also going to be your vertex. Now the issue is it starts with x equals. So now this is going to be horizontal. So A is positive. That means it's going to open to the right for positive. So that is your x-intercept and your y-intercept. So C being 0 meant that is actually your x-intercept. And since it's on the x-axis at the origin, the y-intercept is also 0. So 0 and 0, and it opens to the right. So again, you could plot some more points if you wanted to. So I really think the square root of 2 over 2 is 0.71, I think. All right, so 11, again, starts with x, so it's horizontal. A is negative, so it's going to go to the left. And the x-intercept will be positive 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it opens to the left. our x-intercept is at negative 5, positive 5. Positive 5, put it in the right spot. Okay, and now we put, do it in the right color here. 0 in for x and solve. So 0 equals negative y squared plus 5, subtract 5. And negative y squared equals 5, so positive y squared equals positive 5. So the square root of 5 equals y, plus or minus. So that's going to go through at the square root of 5. So that is going to be 2.2. So plus or minus the square root of 5, which is 2.2. So at that, oh, do yellow here. 2.2 and negative 2.2. So that is what that would look like, and those are your answers. And those are your answers for 7, 9, and 11. And let's move on. Number 13, again, let's just start the whole thing all over again. We can do 2 or 3 each time. Now, x cubed. A positive x cubed makes an S shape like this, okay? A negative leading x cubed would go the opposite direction. So that should tell you what it looks like. Again, that's something you need to remember. And now all we really need to do, since we know the shape of these, is figure out where it goes through the x and y axis. So if we have the x-intercept here and the y-intercept, let's figure out what we have here. Well, to get the x-intercept, plug 0 in for y. So 0 equals negative 1/4 x cubed. So multiply by negative 4, and you get x cubed equals 0, or x equals 0. Okay, so that is your, when y is 0, your x-intercept. Now, your y-intercept is when x is 0. Well, obviously, I just graphed on the graph at the origin, so the y-intercept is also 0. And it goes down to the right, so we know this is going to look like this. Again, we could plot a couple extra points to make sure and go from there. But that's all it was wanting, so that's all we're going to do. Eventually, you will have to plot the points. All right, number 15 is x cubed, and it's positive in front, so it's going to be up to the right, and it goes through the y-axis at negative 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And if we plug 0 in for y again, you get x cubed minus 8, add 8, x cubed equals 8. So the cubed root of 8 is 2. So when y is 0, x is 2. All right, so that tells me this is going like this and then like that. It is symmetrical. And if you plug a 0 in for x, obviously you're going to get negative 8. We already have that. And number 17 is the square root. It's positive, so it's going to go like this. The question is, where does it start? And if you just plug zeros in, it's going to be at the origin. 0. X is 0, y is 0. Y is 0, x is 0. Okay, so this is going to start there and go to the right. So when x is 4, you get 2. Oops, 1, 2, 3, 4, right there. And there's your answers for 13 through 17. All right, number 19. Again, it's the square root. Let's do a quick picture here. It's going to go out to the right, but this is on the outside, so it's a vertical shift, exactly what you think it is. So it goes down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and nothing is flipped or anything, so that's your answer. And yes, I forgot the x and y intercept. So we have the y-intercept here at 0, negative 4. So to get the x-intercept, you have to solve for y being 0. So add 4, and square both sides, you get 16 is equal to x. And that's about where it would hit at 16 on the x-axis. So 16, 0 is the y, or the x-intercept. Okay, we're going to do this all on the same graph here too. 25, 27, 25, 27, 29, and 31. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw a graph, and we'll start with some easy things here. 25, let's explain each thing as we go. So notice that it's not x minus h and y minus h. That's because, or y minus k, because h and k are both zeros here. So this is really of the form x minus 0 and y minus 0. That's your h and your k. So your center of your circle is at 0. There's really not a point there. You don't have a point at the center of the circle, but we're going to put the center down so we can see it. And then the radius squared is 11, so we need to find the square root of 11, which on your calculator is 3.3. So we count 3.3 away from the center. 1, 2, 3, and up. 1, 2, 3, and to the left. 1, 2, 3, and down. 1, 2, 3. And there is your perfectly drawn circle. Okay? Now, number 27. This was number 25, so let's do blue for number 27. Your center is at -3, +2. Remember, inside grouping symbols, it's opposite what you think. So our center is at -3 and +2, which is right here. And our radius squared is 9, so the radius is 3. So count left, right, up, and down 3 units. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, guess. 1, 2, 3. And that's your perfectly drawn circle for number 27. All right, 29 we'll do in yellow. Our center is at -3, 0. And our radius squared is 16, so the radius is 4. So at -3, 0 is right here. Count 4 to the right, left, and up and down. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, guess. And 1, 2, 3, 4. So you could draw these all separately. It'd probably look better. And then 31, you have to have the x squares and y squares by themselves. So we're going to divide everything by 4. So we get x squared plus y squared equals 1/4. So our center is at 0, 0. We'll do this in red. Center is at 0, 0. And our radius squared is 1/4. So if we take the square root, the radius is 1/2. So 1/2, 1/2, 1/2, and 1/2. Real tiny circle on this graph. And there's your answers. They're not all in the same size graph, but it's close enough. You get the idea of what it is. Okay, let's move on from there. Okay, find the equation of the circle that satisfies the stated conditions. Okay, so remember this is of the form x minus h and y minus k equals the radius squared. Just fill everything in. So we're going to have x minus a 2 and a y minus a -3, which we will say is y plus 3 equals 25. So that should really, it should look like this, that you haven't changed anything. Y plus 3 and 25. That's how it should look. Okay, next. Okay, so in here, we're going to have x minus 1/4 squared plus y squared. Y minus 0 is just y. And the radius squared would be 5. Okay, next question. All right, so this is crazy because it gives you the center. So that is going to be at x plus 4 and y minus 6. And that's equal to the radius squared. Well, how do we find the radius? Well, here's your x and your y. Just plug those in. So 3 plus 4 squared plus 1 minus 6 squared equals your radius squared. So any point that is on the circle also is a solution for x and y. So you can substitute that stuff in. So 7 squared plus -5 squared equals the radius squared. So 49 plus 25 is the radius squared. That's 74 equals the radius squared. And you don't need to take the square root because it needs to be in that form. So the answer should be x plus 4 squared plus y minus 6 squared equals 74. And that's what they have. Number 43. Okay, it's tangent to the y-axis. Okay, the center, just for visual purposes, so you kind of get an idea of what we have here. -3, 1, 2, 3, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up here. So there's your center, and it's tangent, meaning the circle's going to hit at 90 degrees, just barely touch it at y equals 6 here. So that means our radius is 1, 2, 3 units long, and we already have our center. So all you have to do is say x plus 3 and y minus 6, and your radius squared is 9. And there you have the correct answers.